and welcome to episode 13. Been a while, but here we are.
We're lucky for some, as they say.
Well, yeah.
It's been a weird one, this one.
Different, very different. We knew it would, yeah.
We've got a number of things to show you. First of all, though, we've got the review of the brand new Ford Fiesta ST Line that we mentioned briefly at the end of episode 12. It is a two-part, isn't it?
It's a two-part. So the first part is looking at the outside and the inside, and the second part, which is later on, will be looking at what it's like to drive.
So, let's take a look.
Welcome to my new, very, very new car. My Fiesta ST Line. In what I'm finding, looking at it, the gorgeous race red. I think it's complementing the looks of the car and the exterior styling well. Looking at the side profile of it, it hasn't changed a massive amount. It's changed for the better, but not overboard. I love these wheels first. Check these wheels out. I like these. And one little thing that Ford have done, they put black inserts in. I really like that. Gone are the days when they whack a stupid little Ford blue badge in and you have to try and get ones to cover them over and all that. You will see from the back they have completely changed the look of the Fiesta. We have now got these sweeping lights where there used to be up here. We have a different roof spoiler now. We haven't got these inserts in, it's just all a solid one, but I think it looks the part. Coming down we have this nice rear diffuser. This is exclusive to the ST line. If you get an ST, this has a lip in red or whichever colour the car is, which sweeps back over and covers a lot of this. But I like this, it just breaks it all nicely. Now, these wing mirrors, they look fairly chunky, but I think the actual mirror looks a little bit small. Until you get used to it, it's one of those little niggly things. We have some nice side skirts. These are all exactly the same as what you will find on the brand new ST. We have the ST line badge. You don't get a badge on the side with the ST, but I like this little badge going on. I love this piano black, and one thing I wish Ford would have done, why didn't you make that one lower down the same? Why didn't it be exactly the same? I would be taking that off and getting it done like that. But that's Ford for you. The fog lights, again in this sort of matte black surrounding here. The only difference with the ST is it continues right around in a matte black, and that's the only difference. And of course you'll have the ST badge. Headlights on this one, they are the standard headlights. You can spec on the X-Pack one a slightly better headlight fitting. To be fair, it's not much difference, it just has a little cutting style within and a little bit more brighter bulbs. You only get really mega decent headlights on the ST, and you have to get an ST3 to do that, so you're talking money. But these are fine, these do the job. So yes, you haven't lost any boot space. I think your boot space is fairly decent in this, even so it's a 3-door. Underneath, well, you don't get a spare wheel. You've just got the tyre inflation kit as usual, but I think a lot of cars are going that way now. If you get the X-Pack one, you don't even get that space. It's filled with a big subwoofer, so be aware if you're going to spec that, because then you haven't even got space for anything. But yeah, it's a decent sized boot. But let's touch on the interior. What I'm going to just do for you is just start it up, and first we'll take a look at the display. Push button start, of course. What Ford have now done with the Fiesta is brought it into the 21st century at long last. This is what the Fiesta needed. The last Mark 7 Fiesta was just a button fest in the centre, and it basically looked like the buttons had just been sneezed onto the dash. Looking down here first, we have as eco button, which to be fair in this car is a bit of a not to really bother about. To be fair, I don't use the eco button much. You got your traction control off, and this is the one to do like, and I'm glad you can do this. You've got your active city stop where you can turn it off, so the car's not when you take the foot off the clutch, the car's not switching itself off and then starting again when you set off. Me being me, loving my cup holders, we have plenty cup holders. We've got 2 here, spring-loaded ones. We've got one in the back, but there is for this car, you can actually get the optional armrest which fits in there, which I might do in due course. You've got a USB port there. As drifting forwards up, you have another one there, as well as your 12-volt power unit. For your temperature and your blowers, they're really nice to touch. They have a rubber edge, but they're also slightly spring-loaded. So when you grab them, they give you that sort of good feel to them. And indicators for the speed of the blower, and obviously that for your temperature, backwards and forwards, hot and cold. You have what I'm glad I've got and love. You've got your front heated windscreen, your front blowers, your 2 vents. You can turn the whole system off. You've got your rear, you've got your circulation, and you've got your aircon. I love, on this to do with the vents, these buttons. I will just turn the stereo down completely, and I don't know if you'll pick up on this, but when you move them, they have a satisfying little quality click to them, which I kind of like that. It's different from Ford, from the, let's say, cheaper stuff they used to do. Going further up, we're heading to the tablet. Of course, it's all now touchscreen. You've only got your volume and your tune as buttons there, because everything is all touchscreen now. So, we're on audio at the moment. We can pop it to the home page, and it will give us a small little sat-nav there, and all your information about your radio and so on. If you go into the phone, you've got all where you can look at your contacts, in Siri, everything with your settings. You can read your text messages, you can go to your actual phone keypad. It does everything what your phone can do. This comes with Apple CarPlay as well, so people with iPhones and so on, good news. Plug in, you can do everything off your iPhone on this system. The navigation, I find, is a pretty decent sat-nav actually for this, as this car is actually classed as an ST navigation. So you get this nice clear screen. Find parking areas, all sorts of things like that. Scroll down. It even warns you of roadworks and so on, and everything that a sat-nav really should do for you. And I find it's not a hard system to figure out. So dashing round to, let's say, the dash. As gauges are very vibrant and clear. They're really lovely gauges. We have a trip computer in the centre. You can basically toggle through everything, the settings for the vehicle, connect your phone. It tells you basically some things that's on obviously your display screen, everything about your radio. You've even got your navigational compass. You've got driver's assist, and that's the lane departure warning. If you stray out of a lane, you can leave it on so you've got your speed showing and so on. I like to keep it on this, giving me a few things of information. We've got a switch for his auto lights right down here and so on, and dimming for the headlights to lower them. Some people might say, yes, it's very black and that in here. Is it a bit gloomy? But I don't really find it gloomy. I find it a comfortable place to be. I don't think this car would have worked if this roof lining would have been, let's say, a cream colour. For us controls, we have the race pedals with this being an ST line, and we have a lovely gear shift with just a little bit of chrome that runs through the middle, and it's a lovely 6-speed gearbox. It's a lovely short shift, and it really changes well. I find this a damn good gearbox actually. And we have a very slight, I don't think the camera can pick this up, but we do have a very slight carbon fibre effect going on, only available in the ST lines and the ST. I think it's a very good touch. I expected that it would probably just been a matte black finish and they wouldn't have bothered, but it's fine. With this one, you can actually upgrade to what they call an ST line X pack, which instead of these chrome around the edgings and so on, would give you a red, and you'd get a half leather trim on the seats. If you apply a bit of money, you can upgrade your display from this size to an 8-incher. To be fair, I can't tell much difference. I've seen one that's an 8-incher, and to be fair, everything that you use on the display you can do as well on this as you can on that. I really think they've changed this car for the better. It is bigger, it's bigger inside and out, but Ford didn't really want to dramatically change what was already working for the Mark 7, so they've achieved it. they've made a good car better.
Next up, we have a bit of a feature on the DVLA. Now, one of the things that's been happening since SORN was introduced in 2008 is people have had problems with parking or storing their car in places that's not their driveway. And we're going to have a look a little bit about that now. So have either of you guys known anyone who's been in this situation?
I haven't personally, and I found this an interesting thing to see because I wasn't aware of this.
Not a lot of people are until you start researching it and you realise it's a massive, massive problem.
So this is an interesting thing to see.
I have sold the car previously, but
Yeah, I mean, I've sold them in the past without problem, and then you suddenly see that if you're storing it for a long time, problems can occur. Let's have a look. In 2008, the DVLA introduced a new system, the statutory off-road notification. So if you weren't going to be taxing your vehicle, so long as it was in a private car park or a private area, you were fine. The only thing is, this hasn't quite gone to plan. The principle was very simple. If you had a car and you were going to take it off the road and not tax it, you would keep it on private property and let the DVLA know with a statutory off-road notification, or SORN. Obviously, if it's on the driveway in front of the house, the DVLA will leave you alone. It's attached to your property, it's not on the public road, there's not a lot they can do. However, if you're in a residential car park, things get a little bit hazy. What you consider private property that you are entitled to keep your car on, and what the DVLA consider private property that you're entitled to keep your car on, are often two completely different things. Since 2009, there's been a huge escalation in people being prosecuted for not taxing their cars. And you can find yourself in court with a rather large fine. Generally, private property is any area which is owned by an individual and not by the council or the highways authority. So you'd think that maybe an unadopted road, a car parking area, private car parking area, something like that, or even a friend's workspace might very well be the ideal place to keep your car. Not necessarily. You see, the DVLA will still try and prosecute you. And the prosecution rate is actually quite high. It's about 60%. Around 40% of these are quashed. Now, the reasons behind these are many and varied, but usually it's because the DVLA have gone after you when your car's in a private car park. So, what's the difference between a private car park, generally, and a private car park you're entitled to park your car? Well, if you have a designated area to park your car that is part of your deeds, and it is not council maintained, that can be deemed as a private car park in the same way as a drive. And the DVLA shouldn't be able to touch you. It won't stop them trying to prosecute you though. And this is where a problem occurs, because some people have done this, been taken to court, and have paid the fine. This, on the whole, is money that the DVLA is not entitled to. Some good examples. Where I live, we have private residential car parks. Every single house has its own allocated space, which is effectively an extension of their property. Yet, this hasn't stopped the DVLA from coming in and basically fining people for keeping their cars off the road and not taxing them. This means going to court, it means showing your deeds. Even if you send these things off to the DVLA, they don't necessarily take notice of them. And again, some people in the past have just given up and paid. That's not on. That is a fine that the DVLA should never have issued. And again, tax that they've backclaimed, which they were not entitled to. This isn't the best way to actually raise funds and make friends and influence people for the DVLA. Not that they care. However, this is money that the DVLA is not entitled to. If you're on a residential car parking area with your own designated car parking space that you can prove in deeds, the DVLA can't actually touch you. The thing is, when you don't have that proof, then it becomes a case of standing up in court, testifying, basically saying the DVLA is wrong and hoping that things go in your favour. This is wrong. The rules around private property and parking your car are incredibly vague, and it almost seems as if they're designed that way to ensure that people get snared. Now, I'm not saying that is the way it is, but that's the way it appears. And you wind up with a DVLA, a car could be reported as being abandoned, and the enforcement officer comes up, takes the pictures, sends them to the DVLA. That's where the fun begins, because that data includes GPS location. A GPS system isn't that accurate. The only reason sat-navs get you to where you're going is because they use algorithms to calculate where you are on the road. The actual GPS signal will be up to 10 metres that way, 10 metres that way. Which is fine for a bomb, which is what they were designed for, because let's face it, the blast radius will take out the target anyway. But when you're actually trying to pinpoint the location of a car, unless you're using additional things such as mobile phone location data, it's not that accurate. Yet the DVLA will use this evidence to say you were on a public road even when you weren't. So GPS isn't that reliable. Yet the DVLA will pass that in front of a court and say, look, it proves he was on a road. He was on a public road. The DVLA shouldn't be able to just prosecute you and fine you on the basis of a bit of GPS data. The other thing to watch for is unadopted roads. So just because a road's unadopted doesn't necessarily mean you're entitled to keep your car there, taxed or untaxed. So that's one where the DVLA can prosecute you. You can defend yourself, and some of those claims are quashed. However, if you do stand up against those, you take the risk of ending up with large fines and costs. If there's a residential car park, but it is actually maintained by the council, you need to get permission from the council to actually keep your car off of there, or get written confirmation from the council you're entitled to keep the car there, should the DVLA come calling and asking for a fine. So it's not always that easy. But there are horror stories out there where people have been parked in residential car parking areas and they've had the cars taken away and crushed because they've not been taxed. This has to really stop. The onus of proof is on the DVLA. It's trying to prove that you're guilty and is using any technology it can to actually do that without actually looking up whether you are actually guilty. This is a waste of time, it's a waste of public money, and it's also that desperate hope that they'll just capitulate and pay. This is wrong. It was estimated on forums recently that the DVLA may well have had over £3.5 million worth of fines and back tax that they were not entitled to, because people just feared standing up against them in court. And as As a result, since 2009, this problem has started to escalate and got bigger and bigger and bigger. Some people do just pay because they think, well, how can I fight them? Other people do fight them and end up going to magistrates' courts and getting the fines quashed. It's still cost involved. It's a very understanding workplace these days that will let you go to court and not actually ask you to take half a day off in holiday or take the day off unpaid. So you're still getting punished either way. This is wrong. This is a Britain that has rule of law since the Magna Carta that clearly states you are innocent till proven guilty. Not in the eyes of the DVLA. You are guilty till proven innocent, and even if you pass that information on to the DVLA, telling them you are innocent, they ignore it and try and prosecute you anyway. This has to stop. So one of the things we're looking at is we've been in contact with various people and we want to hear from you. So if you have had experience of the DVLA trying to prosecute you and fine you for a SORN declaration and then saying you've used your car in a public area, let us know. Tell us your stories. We are setting aside a forum section, so there will be a section on the website which will be linked below where you'll be able to tell us these stories and things that have happened. Also, if you've had these experiences, if you know people who've had these experiences, let us know. Tell us the stories so we can actually start collating this information. Right now, it is separate stories on separate forums and lots of different things in different places. We need a centralized area where we can actually then start to push back and say, look, this is what's happening, it has to stop. So please, let us know. Get in touch, tell us your stories and your experiences. There are potentially thousands of people at any one time in this sort of situation where the DVLA have been issuing fines that they're not entitled to issue. We know it's happening, but we can't do anything without you. Up next, we have a little feature. You may remember we've mentioned in the past about, certainly in the news on the website, about cars being stolen with this relay box crime that's going on. Here's a possible way of getting around it. Now, often they'll recommend visual deterrents and things like that, but as you can see, those aren't necessarily a good idea. Here's something that will work. Most of us by now will have heard about relay crime. The crime that causes our cars to be stolen without the need for keys. So basically what happens is you have two people, one with the scanner trying to pick up the signal from your key, the other with the receiver right by your car. When they get the signal from your key, the car opens and the thieves drive away. Other than wrapping your keys in tin foil, putting them in the microwave, or adding a visual deterrent such as an old stop lock, there's not a lot you can actually do about this. So how can you stop your weekend being ruined by your car being taken away? Ghost installations have a possible answer to your problem. Unlike a stop lock or anything that's visible, Ghost literally is like a ghost. You can't see it, you've no idea it's installed, it just sits there and protects your car. So how does it do it? What Ghost does is it literally turns your car into a pin. So you can program it to have a certain combination of buttons, levers, whatever, to act as a key to starting the car. So even if somebody actually had the fob, they wouldn't be able to do anything with the button. The most they'd be able to do is put the radio on. And that's it. The device itself, there's no evidence it's actually in. It's hidden away, and even if you did manage to find all the wiring and everything as well, it's all blacked out, so you don't know what wiring's doing what. It's really enhancing the immobilizers of old. Because let's face it, you can put a visual deterrent on your steering wheel, like a stop lock or something like that. However, any self-respecting car thief will already know how to get past those. So the most you'll be doing is delaying them by a couple of minutes. Let's face it, they haven't woken you up by getting into the car at the time. They're not going to wake you up getting the stop lock off. And it's 2 minutes. It's a 2-minute job for them. That's all good and well, but is it just for the big flashy cars that are likely to be stolen using something like relay crime, or can they be used for any car? Well, truth is, they can be used for any car. So even if you had a regular key that goes into the ignition, you can still use Ghost to protect your car. So visual deterrents aren't necessarily going to be a good thing. So Ghost, it is literally an enhancement to the existing immobilizers, which the fob would get past anyway. So, for example, you could do that button, turn the buttons down there, something like that, and then the car would start. Which, there we go. But if you don't know that combination, you ain't going to start the car. So in that respect, Ghost is a really good piece of hardware to have. But what about when you're servicing your car? Will you have to give your PIN to the mechanic? Well, no. You can have a servicing mode, so the car will act as if Ghost wasn't actually there. You have a very easy process for changing your PIN code should you feel you've been compromised. And the great thing is, there's nothing in addition to the actual Ghost hardware behind the scenes. There's no visual deterrent. It's all done via the ECU. It's literally undetectable using diagnostics, so you can't tell it's there at all, and it can't be bypassed using standard theft methods. No additional fobs, no additional devices whatsoever. You fit it and forget it. Now, Ghost are available online. You've got various pages you can get to, and you can see them at ghostinstallations.co.uk. It's well worth visiting the site, and there's a lot of things it can actually help you out with. It can be taken to a fitter, or they can come to you. Either way, it's all built around what you need to protect your car.
Coming up next, we've got a discussion feature. We like to bob these in when we can on these episodes.
We do, yeah.
This one is most interesting cars, and interpret that how you will, under £3,000. It's quite an interesting one. It's interesting research that went into making it. So I hope you enjoy it and see what you think. An idea for a discussion for most interesting cars under £3,000. This is really because it is to show that you don't, even if you're only spending that kind of money on a car, you don't have to buy something that's sort of boring or basic or slow, I suppose.
Yeah.
You know, it's something. The cars that we're going to talk about aren't necessarily going to be the cheapest to run, but you can pick them up for fairly little money.
I must say that's a budget I remember.
3,000.
It's a budget which I had to keep a tight rein on. And I managed it. People may remember what I actually got for it.
Yeah, I mean, it's good. I mean, I say when you're scanning the classifieds sometimes, you come across things and think, oh, God, how much that cost? Because I remember when that was brand new, it cost an absolute fortune.
Yeah.
It doesn't always seem that long ago, though, does it? I
No.
see a massive price drop.
So, chaps, this is probably the most oddball choice, I suppose you could say.
Okay.
Have you ever heard of the Hyundai Grandeur?
I will flatly say I've not heard of that car name. Obviously, I've heard of Hyundai, but not that make and model. And I can't bring that to mind.
Was it?
That's a no-no, Malcolm.
At first, maybe I thought probably just throwing a joke in and made this one up, but I'm sure it's a car.
Well, I can't remember where I read this, but I read this a few, going back about 10 years or so now, that they only sold 11 a year in the UK. So that might,
Really?
that might be an idea why you they were
Probably
why
never
you
seen a video. No.
Basically, it's an executive saloon. I think they were very popular in the States, called under a different name, I think. But yeah, so the executive saloon 3.3 litre V6 under the bonnet. Absolutely loaded to the hilt with equipment, electric, everything, power this, power that. It was just absolutely loaded. And that's what it is, the Hyundai Grandeur.
To be fair, it sounds a bit of an American name, doesn't it? The Grandeur. It sounds like something they'd have in America.
That's grand, but that's Grandeur.
That's Grandeur. Yeah. I've got a Grandeur car in my neighbour. So yeah, you can see that.
Yeah, I came across this car in the classifieds, and I thought that is. I do remember it briefly from a few years ago. And I thought I've not seen one of them fit years.
So what on earth would they be selling for now?
Well, I think that you're looking around about, from what I've seen, you're looking around about the £1,500 to £2,000 mark. For them.
Certainly stand out.
It would, but wouldn't it be a gamble to run?
If you're talking about a car that's 13 years old and they only sold 11 a year when they were new, what's the chance?
Yeah,
that's the one.
Rocky horse, you know.
But you know, nothing's impossible. But you know,
you'd be sourcing a lot of parts from abroad.
Well, I think so.
Yeah.
I suppose you just got to look at the markets where the car was most popular.
I think if I had money to play with to get another car in that sort of bracket, I think I'd shy away from that.
It's not going to be cheap to run. That's it. The 3.3 V6. Not sure about the insurance, but obviously it's going to use a bit of fuel for that. Moving on, Renault Velsantis.
No, I do remember that.
Yeah, I do.
Big 5-door hatchback one. Yeah. Effectively replaced the Safran one that you replaced.
It did, yeah.
Available with a number of engines. I know there was a 2 litre turbo, there was a 2.2 diesel and a 3 litre V6 diesel, and topped off with a 3.5 litre V6. Pumping, I think it was about 245 brake horsepower. I think it was the same engine they put in a 350Z or something like that. I think they also put it in the Espace as well, believe it or not.
I think that was one of those cars, it was incredibly comfortable to be in, but you didn't want to be seen dead in it.
Yeah.
It's great from the inside.
It had the embarrassment factor.
I drove a 3.5 litre V6, and it was the top spec one as well, going back quite a while now, and to this day it's still the smoothest car ever driven. Yes, and they're well under £3,000 now. So I remember when they were new, the top spec one at least, I remember was, I think, knocking on the door of about £31,000, something like that.
That's a hell of a drop then, isn't it?
And the sister car for that, of course, it was the Aventime. You remember that?
I do remember that.
Which I was spec like a MPV / 4x4 / it wasn't 4-wheel drive.
It was a love child with a lot of them, I think. It was just a mishmash.
Yes.
I'd left in the factory.
We've got spare bits here, we've got spare bits here. That's Bolton's.
Very rare car.
Typical French, they just had a mad moment and just cobbled it all together.
Yeah. Very rare car. I think it was less than 500 sold in the UK.
They really have sold in the UK.
But one thing I do remember is that it was the first car I remember that had a big sliding panoramic sunroof on it.
I do remember that.
The Aventime didn't have what I consider 4x4 looks. It just maybe just me, but to me it looks like it was slightly raised up. But anyway, Cadillac CTS. I
do like the American cars, but I'm not so sure about this one.
I think they came the 3.6 V6. I think it was a 2.8 V6 as well. I think the
thing with American cars is you've got some big engines really, because in America you feel cheaper, things like that, and they love a big engine in nearly any car.
What I was thinking about that car though is obviously they did sell it over here officially in the UK in right-hand drive. What would the cost have been to convert that car to right-hand drive and the sales that they got from it? I mean, I'm guessing here, but I'm not sure they made.
I think they were really lost out with that. I think they were really lost out with a car being converted to right and coming over here. It wouldn't sell.
I mean, the cost involved in doing that couldn't have been, cheap, I wouldn't have thought.
No, it wouldn't. It really wouldn't. Everyone might know I'm a bit of a secret American. I do love American cars, but there's certain ones I will just say no.
Martin, would you say no to this one? Chrysler PT Cruiser.
As the PT Cruiser stands, I don't think it's American. I don't class it as American. That it looks like a bread van.
Isn't that Batman's people carrier?
Yeah, it looks like out of a cartoon book drawing.
It's like something. It's like the Tim Burton villain's car from Batman.
Yeah.
Really. It seems to be very popular being modified as well. I've seen
there is a following where they really go to town on them, and there is a lot of custom afterparts to really change them. But I like it as a convertible. I do like it as a convertible because I think it dramatically changes the looks. It takes the ugliness away.
Yeah, I think the car looks so wacky and out there. I think taking the roof off it kind of suits it.
It does. I think actually that car should have just been made as a convertible, and that was it.
Ideally, with no roof ever being put on it.
Yeah, because I think it's the back end that lets it down. I think the styling team started at the front and either got bored halfway through the week or just passed it on to something
But
else.
everything in the front, although the front looks very, sort of, say, a bit out there, I don't think it looks too bad actually.
I really think there was a cheaply made car.
Yeah, it was.
They were tinny. They were really tinny. I do know someone who I went to school with, his sister's got one. If you ever see this video, you know what I'm talking about. It's still going, still see the car running, but I'm sorry, it's a bread van. I just see the name plastered on side Joe's Breads and things like that. And
Yeah.
that's all
Was
I
that
see.
actually on the side of it?
If you could blank out all the windows at the back and all that, it's just a bread van.
Yeah.
Well, I think it's fair to say on that one, this is a car that certainly defines opinion. I'm on the fence, I'm not quite sure about that one.
I wouldn't. I don't like them.
I'd only have one if it were a convertible.
Yeah, I do like a convertible, yeah. I do like it.
That's the only way I would
It
have
does
one.
look good, yeah.
So it'd have to be a
I
convertible.
do know someone of someone who has a PT Cruiser convertible, so yeah.
I just think it dramatically changes the looks of such a simple idea.
It does. Fiat Barchetta. I think I pronounced it
That
right.
sounds like a type of Italian bread. I just don't know anything about this car. I don't even think I've ever seen it, or if I have, I didn't know it was that.
Didn't know about it.
Yeah.
Obviously, two-seater convertible, similar to, I suppose, similar to an MGTF, that kind of MX-5, that type of thing. The interesting thing to note about the Fiat is that, regardless of where it was sold in the world, it was left-hand drive only. You know that, Malcolm?
It was, yeah.
Now you mentioned the type of car it is, I think I'm getting a bit mixed up here. I've probably seen it. I didn't know that was its name.
Yeah, it was, I think, based on the Fiat, was it Mark 1 Punto it was based on, wasn't it, originally? Yeah, but based on the Mark 1 Punto. Very, very nice little car. A lot of character. A lot of character.
Because you've got left and right hand drive puntos, it could be possible to convert it to left.
There are people, I think, that have converted it to right-hand drive.
Well, if you remember, we did our left-hand drive Punto, didn't we?
Yeah.
Do check out that video if you want to see what we're on about.
Yeah, but the first time for me being sat in the wrong side, I expected the steering wheel in front of me.
It's an interesting experience driving left-hand drive, also as me and Malcolm noted when we were in Portugal, with the Peugeot 308 and the Fiat Tipo video. It took a bit getting used to, didn't it?
It did. And the one thing was though, but if we'd have carried on in that car park, we'd have been there all day getting used to it. We'd have had to go out on the road.
It took us about 10 minutes to get out of the airport.
I didn't know this, when they were on holiday doing this. I didn't know they were going around and around getting used to what you don't see.
Well, I think on the town of the car park, what did the roundabout we kept going round and round?
They must have thought you were crackers.
It was an interesting experience, to say the least. But
It was.
I think by the end of the week, I was just about there with it, but it took some getting used to.
So this Fiat then, I don't really...
Yeah, the Fiat Barchetta, sorry, we're going off topic there. Fiat Barchetta, two-seater convertible, similar to the MG or the MX-5, that type of thing, based on the Mark 1 Punto. Just a lot of character. It was a cracking little thing to drive.
Yeah, the engine.
1.8 wasn't it?
Yeah. And it had this funny little rattle to it, but it kind of added to the character.
Yeah.
It sounds like one of these cars that you'd really take to, wouldn't you, that's got a lot of little character about it.
I mean, it's the recipe, isn't it? It's a small little Italian sports car. I mean, what's not to love about it, really?
But sometimes, you might not agree with me, but I find a lot of Fiats soulless.
I don't think you can call a Barchetta that.
No, I mean...
And I think this is why this would be a really good car to have, because it will be completely different. So I think that sounds like that'd be a right little pocket rocket there, and that will probably be a good one to own.
So yeah, they are now under £3,000. It used to be a fair bit more than that.
A good example, one of them would probably be a good car to have.
They're starting around £3,000. You can pay more than that for it. They're starting, from what I've seen anyway, around about the £3,000 mark. And if you have to do a late one, a mint one, you can probably be looking quite a bit more than £3,000. But they do start around.
I just wouldn't be able to tell anyone the name. I'd just be thinking about a loaf of bread, tell me what the bread is coming out of there. And I just say it's a little Fiat running around, that's all it is.
Alfa Romeo GTV, keeping with the Italian theme here.
Now,
and this is the 90s model.
we know, I'm not going to mention names, but we know all the other car people and all that say you're not a proper petrol head unless you've owned an Alfa. I do agree with that saying.
I do know somebody who's owned an Alfa.
But I've not owned an Alfa of my own.
I've never owned an Alfa.
No.
I'd like to own an Alfa. I've never owned an Alfa.
But I like Alfas. I always like the styling of Alfas, old and new.
Yeah, I don't think it matters whether you buy an old or a new one. I think
The only thing is, if you're buying an old one, you can effectively have some parts that will write the car off.
They are a risky car, aren't they? At the end of the day, they are temperamental.
they're a car, I think it's fair to say, that you buy with your heart, not your head.
Well, they are.
aren't they?
And but as you can see in the design, that's how they design them. It's a passion, isn't it? How they design
It is a passion. I mean, you look at an Alfa Romeo and it looks like nothing else, does it? You know instantly what it is, whether it's a brand new one or
You don't have to be a massive car fan to know how for real.
True.
You know.
I don't think you have to be a massive car fan to like them either.
No, you don't. No.
You know,
Most people do take to Alphas, they do. So this one we have here.
this is a 90s model, because they did do a GTV obviously quite a bit before that, but this is the 90s GTV. It had the twin headlamps, if you remember, and that sort of strip lights along the back.
Yeah.
I think they came with a number of engines, 2 litre, they even did some diesels, and obviously the 3 litre and a 3.2 V6, which was absolutely glorious. You pop the bonnet into one of them, and all you see is these chromed in their pipes.
This way, most cars you pop a bonnet and it's all black and gloomy plastic covers. All
Wow.
Nothing impressive. Let's say you pop an Alfa bonnet up and
they went to the effort of chroming
They did,
the
yeah.
inlet pipes, didn't they?
Yeah, they did.
Absolutely stunning car. I mean, even the engine looked good.
It did. You'd be worried about driving it for the fear of getting any dust and usual road grime on it, because it was just a masterpiece of most engines and Alphas, and that's one of the things that they always did. And I would probably chance the Alfa.
I mean, I think if you're buying something like that, the chances are it's not going to be an everyday car anyway. It's going to be a weekend car. Isn't it?
No, if I had the money floating about, I think I would chance me now at an Alfa.
Yeah, I remember they were lovely cars, and even the interior was a nice design, and especially if you had one with like tan leather and things like that, or even red leather seats as well. I think it's fair to say, looking at our list here, with the possible exception of one other, the Alfa probably has the biggest following. In terms of enthusiasts.
There's a few places as well that actually will forge new parts as well if the parts are out of production and unavailable.
Fabricate new ones. Yeah.
Well, that's good to know as backup planners.
So moving on now, we're going on to a bit of a different theme here. Obviously, the theme that we've had so far tends to be sort of sports cars and executive cars. Rover 25 MGZR. Now, bear with me. We've covered this sort of car a fair bit on OverDrive, haven't we?
Yeah, well, it's all been owned as a
Reviewed my old one, and
We both own.
I had a Rover 200 and then I also had an MGZR, which I wish to today I still had.
I wish I still had my 25. It was a shame, and the engine decided it didn't want to be an engine anymore. But there we
did a review on it and then that happened. But,
Yes, and then I had the ZR, mine was LPG converted as well, so the 1.8, and it was fantastic car, fun to drive. I mean, that took me all over the country when I was working at Network Rail, and you look after them, they look after you.
No, I've put here 25 and ZR, but to be honest, this really covers any Rover and MG, I think, because they're all, you can all pick them up, any one of them up now from well under £3,000.
You still see a lot about.
The thing is, as well, the original MGF is now is actually being highlighted by many places to be increasing in value and well on the way to becoming a bona fide classic car. So buying one now in reasonable condition could very well be a good investment.
Yeah, I mean things like things like Metros, Metros and that type of thing. The Red Bull became the Rover 100, of course. They're starting. You're starting to get mint low mileage, and I mean low mileage. 20,000 mile examples coming out of the woodwork now.
But I always liked my ZR. It was, I won't say it was basic and it won't flash, but it was simple and easy to maintain, and it just never let me down. Mine was only a 1.4, but it was like a little pocket rocket.
Yeah.
And I loved how it handled it up the road like anything.
Because they did the 1.4 and 2 power guys, they did an 84 and 103 brake, I think. All the ZRs were 103s, and in the Rover 25 you could have either. Now the one I had did have the 103 horsepower, and it did. It was a nippy little car. But again, this similar to the sort of Fiats and the Alphas, there's a lot of enthusiasts out there still. Last but not least, and this is going completely off topic here, completely different to most of the cars we've talked about, because it is relatively basic compared to the cars that we've spoken about already. Dacia Sandero. They are now under £3,000, believe it or not. But what's interesting about this is that they, obviously, when they were new, they started off at, I think they're about £7,000 now. They used to be about £6,000, I think, when they started off. It's took this long to come to under £3,000. And for a car that cost so little to start with, that's amazing.
It's a very good return. It's a very good rate of depreciation, isn't it?
Especially considering how many they are about, because in the UK when Dacia launched it at the back end of 2012, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Early 20. I know because the first one I saw in the flesh was in December 2012.
Yeah.
Because I was looking at buying one at the time, and I didn't end up with a Toyota Risqué, but that's a different story. The first one was in December 2012, and since they were launched over here, they've been incredibly successful.
But can you remember, it is a long time now, when Skoda was, let's say, a bit of a joke,
Yeah.
and now look at Skoda. Why is it I get a feeling with some of these car manufacturers that are still cheap and cheerful like this, eventually will come a time when there'll be leaps and bounds ahead of what they are.
Look at Kia. I mean,
And
Kia
Kia's
started
another
off
one.
as
Yeah.
cheap and cheerful,
Did
and
it?
now we've got
Do you remember the Kia Pride?
yeah, and now we've got the Kia Stinger, which starts at around £30,000.
And now look at that car, and I have one of them to drop off. I think that's an awesome car. So it just shows how companies
It
like
does,
that
it does. I
change.
mean, I think that's sure of say Renault, because I think
It is part
they're
of
under
it.
the Renault
It is.
umbrella, aren't they? They've noticed that. They noticed that gap in the market here.
They have.
In this country, it's obviously, it used to be your Hyundai, your Kias. Now they were the entry level point of a new car, and they've moved up market as to be expected. The prices have moved up market as well.
They've now filled that
And
gap again.
they've noticed that and think, hang on, there's a gap in the market here. And that's great. But yeah, the Sandero, Dacia in general, this will be something that hopefully Malcolm and Martin, I think, will be covering at some point next year. But yes, the Sandero and Dacia in general.
I mean, you're basically buying an old Clio, really. But having said that, the Clio isn't a bad car anyway. So
Well, this is it. Yes, you're buying, obviously the Sandero itself is based on the previous generation Clio, as we all know. It's not necessarily a bad thing.
No.
It wasn't a bad car. Well, as we've seen with our list here, the French are fantastic. Well, equally good at making a hot hatch as they are an executive car.
Till they go on strike.
Now, we're not saying these are the best cars to buy under £3,000. We're just saying that some of the more unusual and interesting. I say we've got some cheap cars there with the Sandero and the Rover. We've got sports cars or two-seat sports cars with the Parketta and GTV Plus. I think that's it, Jack.
That's it, yeah. Thanks to Craig for that list. It's brought back some memories as well, especially with the MGs and things like that. So it's been good to touch on that.
Hope you enjoy it. See you next time.
So now we're going to see the second part of my Fiesta ST and together the driving bit and see how I found it. It really is growing on with this car in many ways, and I'm not going to spoil this ending of the video. But one little thing, you will see, you will find out. And anyway, enjoy this second part and see what you think and make your mind up if you're wondering about getting one or something along them lines. But I'm enjoying the car. So here it comes.
This ST line, we've got the 1 litre EcoBoost engine. This is the smallest of the 3. You can get 3 types. This is the just 1 litre 1000cc engine. And we're now going to find out what it's like to drive. The suspension it is sat on is the same suspension as you get with the Fiesta ST. So you're onto a winning start there already. But it's not one of those you feel every bump in the road. It's a beautifully tuned suspension because they knew it was going to be the suspension for the ST. And I don't find there's any sort of funny body roll or anything with the car, not even on these moor roads. It really handles a dream. 6-speed gearbox, as I said, which, thank you Ford, this is what we needed. Really lovely close box, and it is a little joy to drive is this car. I am liking this car more and more as I use it. So, everyday running with this car, it's a brilliant little tootling around car, but it gives you sporty thrills on tap. So it's just like basically a mild ST. If you could say the ST is a Vindaloo, this is more of a Corner with a kick, let's say. And it is comfortable. Ford have actually now brought this Fiesta up to date. It's what it needed. Styling on the outside has been subtle, because Ford did not want to lose that winning formula. With the Mark 7 they had a nice good styling going on, and Ford really did not want to lose that too drastically with the Mark 8, and they haven't. Basically the Fiesta's grown up a little bit. is adapted for today's standards. So, on these roads, it's handling really well. I cannot fault this car in any way for its handling. As you'd expect, with it sharing the suspension and things from the ST, you know you're onto a winner with its handling.
Now, I'm dodging a little subject here, and there is an elephant in the room. We have to get on to the issue of the headlights. But not the headlights as such, it's part of the headlights. And it's a little bit of a Marmite thing, let's say. You either love them or hate them. And it's the daytime running lights. Don't get me wrong, I think the idea's good. The design's a little bit, well, it is a love-hate thing. But they're too bright. They are bright. When they're on at the daytime as they are when you're running, it's shockingly bright. But I did say this about this car before I got it. It reminded me of a bit of the Medna with the glasses. Although I'm getting used to it, as people pointed out to me in the past, when they're driving along and they look in their rearview mirror, all they see is very, very bright daytime running lights, that can be very distracting. I'm not getting a Ford in this way, because there's a lot of car companies that do it. I've seen minis with them, all sorts. Most cars have got daytime running lights now, but it's a shame because they go right down and they're so ultra bright. But yes, it's just that little niggle.
So, am I liking my new ST so far? Yes. I cannot fault it at all. It's one of those cars, especially this engine, it's always going, come on then, give us some more, and it loves to rev. It's just right. I've driven smaller engine cars before in the past, and they felt like they were losing with the power, running out of steam. Always felt like that all the time. This doesn't. It always feels like it could give more. It's not a drastic change, it's a subtle change. Your display's all new, it's all easy to read, very clear and precise. Yeah, it's doing well on its fuel. It's only running in, of course, at the moment. But yeah, it's ticking all my boxes, let's say. How am I finding the car in general? Seriously, I mean, I've had my Focus STs, I've had my Focus RS, I've had low-powered cars, high-powered cars. How am I finding this EcoBoost engine, this 1 litre? It's a sprightly car. I just love it. It drives exactly how I want it to drive. It's perfect.
Right, so that was the second part of the ST line. We got so much footage that day, well, days.
Day and night.
Day and night, we got some good night footage. Yeah. And I hope you enjoyed that video as much as we did making it.
And it's good to point out the elephant in the room.
There was this elephant in the room, which the eagle-eyed people, well, you don't really have to be eagle-eyed, but it did keep popping up. And we couldn't dodge it no longer. It was the lights.
Yeah.
As much as I'm getting used to them, they are too bright.
What's your opinion on the new Fiesta lights?
I think, like most things with the Fiesta, it becomes that common as a car to see around.
It is the way forward that the cars.
You can get used to it.
You will get used to them. I think it's just Ford wanted not to change the Fiesta too much from the Mark 7 because it was a winning formula. They just improved on it. But where the headlights went, They could have just quite easily just done a little strip same, and they could have said, "Oh well, we haven't done that headlights, the look a bit samey."
I think they're trying to make a statement though. They're trying to make a statement.
And it works.
It does,
and
yeah.
to some people will probably think they're fantastic. Me, I wasn't so sure. They are growing on me, but I did have to refer to them as I did in the video.
The thing for me is, because of the shape and the style of it, they're too bright. There's too much of that light there.
I don't mind them being too bright if, and this is an if, and Ford, you could have done this quite easy. You have a dimming switch to dim your display. I think that's a pointless thing. Why would you really want to dim your display? Your display should be as bright as it is, done.
But are they not
Why
regulations?
couldn't they have had a dimming switch to dim them lights?
Would it not be because them lights are this is daytime running lights? There must be assuming regulations on how bright they have to be.
But what I've noticed with the car, and this is with ownership, Malcolm noticed, I think actually before I saw it, and when the car is stationary and that, and the engine's optic, and you just open the door, there's a subtle brightness.
Yeah.
When you start the car, they double in the brightness.
When the indicator,
Right, so-
When the indicator goes, as you said, it
because
goes
if it
down.
remained at that brightness, you wouldn't actually see the indicator would stand out,
see it,
and so
yeah,
it comes down a bit. And it
This is
doesn't
it.
look so bad then.
It does, as Malcolm says, when the indicator's going, it looks, let's say, acceptable, how it should be. My gripe is, Ford's already doing that. They have it at one level of brightness and then the maximum brightness. Why couldn't you have had a button on your dash near where you can dim the display to dim that, to suit yourself?
Well, yes, I think that's pretty much it for episode 13.
It is. We've enjoyed making it, like I say, as we always do. And
Unless
we couldn't call it a Fiesta Special, even though my car features Emily in it, but there we go.
not quite a Fiesta Special, but it played a big part.
It did.
Yeah, but there's also other connotations in the UK with saying it's a Fiesta Special.
Well,
There's a certain magazine with the same name.
true. There is, yeah.
But then again, there was also Escort.
But we'll also. It's funny how they're all named as Ford cars.
Yeah.
What, is it the Ford car named after a Ford car?
No. No. But you also had another one which is actually named after a Mini.
Oh, yeah.
Funny how they were all cars though, isn't it? They knew what they were doing. And that is a totally different subject, so I think on that note we will go now. Thanks for joining us, goodbye.